Does it still matter in 2021 that our tracks translate well to mono? I say yes because I believe our listeners should hear our tracks as they were meant to be. So let's jump in, let's discuss. Friend Silvano here from ruffinstudio.com. I hope you had a great start into 2021. I haven't been done a lot of technical videos lately, but that's why I thought, yeah, maybe I do one again here for the start in 2021. Yeah, the other day I was working on a track for a client mixing project. There was a certain hi-hat that wasn't mono compatible, so I just quickly want to play it for you. This is in stereo, right? Now I'm switching to mono, and listen what happens. Now it's mono. Stereo. Sounds really nice in stereo, I love it. Love how wide it is. But the problem here on these hi-hats are that they are panned too wide, right? They are panned really wide, far left and right, and then we get some phasing issues, which results in a completely different sound. It sounds almost like a laser shotgun from Terminator. I don't even know if he has a laser shotgun. I don't think so. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about mono compatibility, if it still matters in 2021. Back in audio engineering school, I learned club PAs are generally in mono, but this is already, I don't know, 3-4 years back again, I guess. I'm not an expert in PA system, in live sound, to be honest, and I did some research on Reddit and whatever that I could find, and people haven't really agreed on this topic, if it should be mono compatible or not. In my opinion, we should aim for mono compatibility, especially for the important stuff. I'll come later to this, because we never know where our tracks are be played back, right? Yeah, I also want to mention a little personal story here. In 2018, I guess. Yes, I went to NAMM. You probably know NAMM. It's the biggest audio gear and stuff convention in Anaheim, California, and it was a long dream of mine to actually visit this convention once, and actually in 2018 I did it. There has been some lectures from mixing engineers, and one mixing engineer that was there giving a lecture was Andrew Sheps. He's a pro mixing engineer, and he mixed a lot of rock tracks, commercial rock tracks from Red Hot Chili Peppers, I guess Korn as well, and so on. And then a guy stepped up and asked him if he cares about mono compatibility, and then he said, no, not really. And this confused me a little bit, right? But we as electronic musicians, producers, I would say a lot of tracks are played back on a PA system in clubs, but we don't know it, right? 100%. Now the question is, why does it still matter in 2021? Now we have different playback systems like Bluetooth speakers. Those are in mono. Club systems, some people said club systems are in stereo as well. Some say it's not. It really depends, I guess. I guess most of PA systems are still in mono, I would say. Because if they are in stereo, let's say you have panned one main sound like this hi-hat really hard left, and you stand on the right side of the club and this hi-hat is playing, and the club system is in stereo, you wouldn't hear that hi-hat sound because you stand closer to this right speaker, if this makes sense. But again, I'm not an expert in this, but that's why I would still aim for mono compatibility, especially for the main elements. Also, the older iPhones are in mono. Restaurant speakers, the ceiling speaker, from restaurants, stores, whatever it is. And now you say, yeah, but my track is never gonna be played back in a restaurant or in in a store or whatever, right? But still, we can't say that. At least that's for me the case. I want to be the sound heard by the listener how it was supposed to be, right? So we need to find a nice balance between stereo and mono. Now the question is, how do we double check this? Now I showed you already this hi-hat here in this project. Now let's check in mono. Sounds fine in my opinion, except this hi-hat. Now, how I do it is very simple. I have a keyboard mapped to Shift M, and I can quickly switch to mono. You can see it here. Mix checker here, mono. So I switch this on and off by a click of a button. And let's say if I want to pan a hi-hat or something else, I just pan it as far as I can and as far as it sounds still good, and I switch quickly to mono, dial more, switching back again, and if it still sounds good in mono, then I'm fine, right? I'm sure. And then at the end of the mix I double check again, and that's how I actually find out about this hi-hat. I was at the very end, I was double checking in mono, and then I was thinking, man, something sounds really wrong. I never heard this sound, and then it was this hi-hat. And this is actually a good example that I wanted to show you. This is a real world example. What sounds should be mono-compatible? Obviously not every sound can be mono-compatible, I believe. Especially some pads, maybe they are often very wide. Personally, as a rule of thumb, I aim for mono-compatibility for the main sounds like kick, of course, low end in general, mid bass not always. If it's higher than 150 hertz or so, it's okay, but still it needs to be mono-compatible. Hi-hats, because they often drive the track. Claps, snares, are also important for a track, I believe. Especially main elements, that's the main idea, the main theme, whatever you want to call it. In my opinion, it should also be mono-compatible. And also the low end, I tend to monoing up to 100 to 150, it depends really. On this particular track I only went to 90. So club PAs, I believe, are in mono. The low end is in mono anyway there, right? So now the big question is, how much should you care about mono compatibility? Is it important? Is it not important? So I think in the end it's really up to you. You decide if you want your track to be heard like it was supposed to be. Maybe you also say, I don't care, man. My tracks are going to be played out only on club systems. I want big stereo informations, big background stuff, and I don't care if it's not mono-compatible at all. It's up to you in the end, right? You are an artist, you can do whatever you want. Personally, I play it safe, as mentioned before, keeping the low end mono. The important things like clap, main, themes, elements, hi-hats, mono-compatible. Pads sometimes are more or less mono-compatible. And I always aim that the track doesn't change drastically in mono, like played before, right? Everything was still audible correctly, except this hi-hat that I showed you. I think it's really about finding the right balance between stereo and mono. And I also believe that's how you can achieve a better punch for the track, for the mix in general, if you keep the balance really nice. Because I find if we mono the low end, it gives you way more punch in the end, especially in the low end. And remember, as a little rule of thumb, it's not a big task to actually make the track mono compatible. Just if you pan some stuff, quickly switch to mono, double check if it changed drastically. If it do so, maybe just use the utility width to bring it closer again together, I don't know, and you're fine. And at the very end, double check again if something is off. If not, you're fine. If doesn't anything change drastically, then you're fine. And in the end, really, if a track is created as a masterpiece, if a track is a masterpiece in an artistic way, but it is not mono compatible 100%, no one will say, oh man, I don't like this track, it's artistically amazing, but it's not mono compatible, oh, I don't like it anymore, you know. But just for me personally, I want to be safe. I play it safe with mono. I can't predict who is going to listen to my track on what system, right? And I want to be safe that people are going to hear it like it was supposed to be. So not that a laser kind of sound is popping up all of a sudden if they play it back on a Bluetooth speaker. As always, I have my Rominimal soft but snappy Rominimal Ableton rack still available for you to download for free, of course. And also I have a 7-step low end checklist if you struggle sometimes with getting the low end right, the kick and the bass. There are lots of tips and things, tools in it, mindset things that you can use to hopefully improve your mixing game, especially in the low end. Go and download it, also for free, of course. Just click on the link below. Thanks for watching, thanks for your time. Have a good start into 2021. See you next week. Thank you. Cheers.